Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today with Adobe, which is all around Adobe Sign. My name is Danielle Chapman. I work in the marketing team at Bytes, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Robin Eames and Rojan Madir, who are both Adobe specialists from Adobe. I'm also joined by our in-house Adobe specialist, Rosie Lethbridge. So with that, I'm just going to pass over to Rosie, who's just going to cover off the agenda and provide a little bit of an intro.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're keeping well, and thank you for your time to join our webinar this morning. As Danielle mentioned, my name is Rosie Lethbridge, and I'm the Adobe Business Manager here at Bytes. To give you a very brief overview of Bytes and our relationship with Adobe, Bytes are a global platinum Adobe partner, which is the highest level of partnership, and this is due to our extensive knowledge, experience, and customer base, where we provide Adobe licensing to over 1,200 customers across every sector. This level of partnership entitles us to sell the Adobe portfolio to any vertical around the world and at the best price per point with our knowledge. Today we'll be taking you through Adobe Sign and how this can support businesses through their digital transformation journey to remove the need for wet signatures and use e-signatures to drastically improve your business processes. We have, under the Handouts tab, provided an Adobe Sign leaflet for you to view, so please do feel free to download this and take a look at your convenience. We have Robin and Rojan, both Adobe Sign specialists, on the webinar today. Before we pass over to Robin, I'll just take you through the brief agenda. So obviously we've done the introductions and welcome, Acrobat DC and Adobe Sign's place in the portfolio, the Adobe Sign overview, its integrations, the technical compliance, and how the solution can suit all departments and verticals. We'll then be going through an Adobe Sign demo with Rojan and a Q&A session afterwards. Robin, I'll hand over to you.
Perfect. So I hope you can all see my screen. I'm Robin Eames, and as kindly introduced, I am one of the Adobe Sign specialists. So we're going to take a bit of a journey through kind of what the opportunity is. Over the last few years, we have seen a lot of companies shifting towards sort of more of a digital transformation. But I think what we have all noticed is with such an increase in remote working due to the current situation, document-centric processes are now highlighting that there are certain business critical gaps, and these gaps tend to be dragging organizations down. So for starters, this information has been brought to us by a recent IDC study, and it gives us a sense of where some of the challenges are that businesses are facing these days. No one wants to automate manual processes just for the sake of automation, but we need to identify routes that will help save time, save money, save human error. So when it comes to 30% of a worker's time can be freed by automating certain processes. This can be anything from routing documents for maybe approvals or for signatures, tracking the status of where they are, archiving those documents. All of that takes time. So if we can give the workers 30% of their time back, what else could they be doing with that time? How could they be investing that time back into your organization? A further third of business leaders are claiming problems with missing signatures, initials, dates, perhaps documents signed by the wrong people. All of these errors, it includes multiple emails going back and forth, perhaps businesses might still be using fax or snail mail. All of this adds up into time and cost wasted. 63% of business leaders say that gaps in automation and integration are adversely impacting the quality of the customer experience. This might be from gaps in automation that are creating lags, mistakes that are preventing them from delivering the type of customer experiences that they were aiming for. Now, a further IDC report suggests that only 26% of organizations have been seeing a return on investment from their digital investments. With Adobe Sign, we are really here for that ROI and making it completely tangible in terms of success metrics for the businesses that we operate across. Telefonica, for example, saw a 92% saving in time, with employee contracts returned in 11 hours versus the previous 3 weeks. Telefonica being a telecommunications company, they're serving more than 300 million customers in 24 countries. So if we can cut that average time for employee contract returns by 92%, they're able to reinvest that within their business. LeasePlan. So LeasePlan's a Dutch company, and they manage around 14 million vehicles in 32 countries. They had an average contract completion time of 23.5 days. But by integrating Adobe Sign into their systems, they were able to cut 19 days off the cycle. They reduced the paperwork burden, and they allowed salespeople more time to work with new customers and increase their loyalty base. And one final example is KLM Airlines. They took just one business process, and this was about managing their travel rewards programs with their partners, and eliminated the printing of 1 million sheets of paper in just one single year. So these are some of the metrics that Adobe Sign can provide back to businesses who invest. So what is Adobe Sign? So Adobe Sign is the trusted electronic signature leader. We're processing at Adobe over 6 billion signature transactions per year through the Document Cloud platform. Now, the Document Cloud platform encompasses not only Adobe Sign, but also our Acrobat products, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Adobe Sign is serving over 77 million users in countries across the world. Now, one of the benefits is, as we all know in this current situation, we have a lot of remote workers, a lot of workers operating on different devices. Adobe Sign will fix that. So through Adobe Sign, you can get signatures in minutes, not days. Signatories only require an internet connection and a browser. So that means that they can sign documents off of any device, whether that's a mobile if they're out and about, a desktop if they're at home, in the office, etc. So according to Forrester, one of the most influential research and advisory firms in the world, Adobe is a clear market leader. This is due to the businesses at Adobe as a whole and the partnerships that we have put in place. We are a preferred vendor for Microsoft when it comes to e-signatures, and as such, we can integrate through pre-built integrations into vendors such as Microsoft, Box, Salesforce, etc. You can ensure that the signatures are legal, secure, and compliant because Adobe Sign meets or exceeds the highest levels of compliance requirements globally. So 5 ways to use Adobe Sign. So as you can see, Sign does not simply mean sending a document and having somebody sign it at the end. It can encompass a variety of workflows from filling forms, whether that's customer forms, partners, employees for internal use, etc. It could be for approvals. It could be collecting payments, certifying recipients. There's such a variety of use cases that Adobe Sign can meet. We are sure that there is a place within your organization to suit that. So think about your own business workflows. Are there perhaps processes that still aren't automated? Maybe they don't need signing or approvals, but maybe they need intelligent document routing. You can utilize products such as the Workflow Designer to automate those processes, saving time and money. Perhaps people internally are still filling out paper forms, or maybe you're spending extra money on overnight deliveries just so that you can ensure people get your document in a timely manner. These are the opportunities for automation and cost savings. So when it comes to certain use cases, as you can see, we've covered a broad variety of departments that most industries will face. And this goes to show that Sign has a place across a business. Many think it might just be within HR for perhaps employee onboarding, or maybe it will just be legal for contracts. But this slide just goes to show how many different ways it can be applied across your business and all the different business units. If you look at human resources, for example, you're looking at more of an internal process. So here you might be integrating with systems like Workday, for example, to tie it in with your employee onboarding, your benefits enrollment, employee policies, employee offboarding. Perhaps you're looking at more of a customer service management to ensure that you've got service and work orders and field service forms completed. Or you could tie it through to IT and operations. Perhaps you would integrate it with some of your other vendor systems to ensure that you've got vendor agreements in place. By utilizing Sign in this way, it would mean that perhaps contractors can have that document signed before they even step foot in your building, ensuring that health and safety is met as well. So why do customers prefer Adobe Sign? Now, fundamentally, Adobe prides itself on these values. Adobe is a trusted business. We have 20+ years of global leadership, and we are a clear market leader as per independent analysts such as Forrester. It is an easy to use tool. So we have provided a very easy interface, as well as integrating additional products such as Adobe Scan and Sensei to streamline those processes even further. When it comes to integrations, we understand that Adobe Sign is not necessarily going to be a standalone and that many business processes will be overlapping. As mentioned earlier, we are the preferred e-signature software by Microsoft, and we have a number of integrations and APIs, which I'll go on to in a little bit. When it comes to workflow, we can start that digital process from beginning to end. It's a very easy drag and drop template creation, so no need to have any insight into coding, and we'll show you that in the demo later. And it can be done through a variety of browsers as well. You can integrate it with Microsoft if you would prefer an Office 365 kind of workflow and layout, and then you can import that into Adobe Sign as well. Compliance. So we have unsurpassed compliance. We have rigorous security certifications. We do have regional data centers as well, because we understand that some countries, particularly in Europe, will only be able to facilitate the data centers in certain regions. And enterprise ready. Adobe Sign can scale as your business scales as well. We have different offerings, we have different licensing plans, all of that to support the best way to facilitate your business moving forwards, both where your business stands now as well as where it stands in the future. So talked earlier a little bit about the integrations. Now, one of the most common questions we receive at Adobe when it comes to Adobe Sign is, how can I integrate this with the systems? Does it integrate with my existing systems? This is a really brief snapshot of some of the key vendors that we do integrate as an out-of-the-box system. When it comes to additional vendors, we do have the opportunity through our custom APIs to integrate with those. There might just be a little bit more work that is required. But some of our key integrations will include Microsoft, Workday, Salesforce, Oracle, Ariba, SAP. But if, like I say, you're not using one of those systems, let us know, because the chances are that we still integrate with them. This allows businesses to integrate with systems in CRM, contract lifecycle management, HR, ERP, all allowing that collaboration and productivity of document systems. As mentioned, the workflow control with visual design tools, you don't necessarily want to be building the same form every single time. So we can import templates, so you can have everybody in the business who requires that particular document to leverage the same document. This ensures that your company is going to be on brand. All of those documents have been cleared by legal, perhaps, in terms of terminology, and that can be pushed out towards your customer base or internally. You can also create custom workflow templates and build self-serve web apps through the workflow designer, which will allow you to configure the workflow templates, integrate with some of these external systems, and then push documents out that way. So when it comes to support for deployment and learning, we're very conscious that when individuals receive new software, it can be very difficult to maneuver to understand the true extent of what that software can do. Within Adobe, we will provide premium support and implementation, as well as best practice guides within the licensing cost. We will not charge you extra in order to help you get started and learn the best practices of utilizing Adobe Sign, whether that's support through your reseller, such as Bytes, or whether it's through Adobe resources, self-help resources. We have the opportunities and the information to support you. So when it comes to security, one of the most common questions we receive is this compliant? Is this legally binding? Across the EU, we meet the requirements for the EU eIDAS. Now, this comes in multiple formats. So you've got, first of all, electronic signatures. This is the broadest category. So the regulation sets the foundation for all electronic signatures, and a signature would not be denied legal effect or admissibility as evidence in legal proceedings. So in other words, courts cannot discard them as evidence just because they are electronic. As another layer, we also meet the advanced electronic signatures. So this is a subset of the larger category of e-signatures, and they are uniquely linked to the signatory. They are capable of identifying the signatory, and they are created using data that the signatory can use under his sole control. This means that they will be linked to the signed document in a way that any change is detectable. So Adobe provides audit trails, which allows visibility into where documents have been sent, at what time, what date, when they were signed, and who signed them. So this requirement can be met with a specific type of digital identity, and it's called a certificate. Now, this is typically issued by a trust service provider, and signatures that use this digital ID form, we would call digital signatures. And finally, we have the qualified electronic signatures. These are a really specific form of advanced signature. They're the only signatures defined in eIDAS that have the equivalent legal effect as a handwritten signature. Although electronic and advanced signatures are accepted by many industries and many countries, there are still certain industries that would require a qualified electronic signature. It's definitely country specific. In the UK, for example, electronic and advanced tend to be the most common that we see. But qualified signatures are the only type that would be automatically recognised by other member states. In order to work with this, you would need to work with a certificate-based digital ID, which would be issued by a trust service provider, and that will allow the certificate to be stored on a smart card, for example, and the signer would use a smart card reader when signing the document. That helps to validate the authenticity of the signatory. And then just to go really briefly to show you that we do cross the water into the global elements, we also meet the requirements for the US e-Sign Act. So I won't go into too much detail on this, but do feel free to follow up with Bytes, put a question in the pod if you would like to discuss more about how this applies within the US. As mentioned, Adobe Sign meets the highest levels of security and compliance. So we use the same technologies and security engineering processes that are relied on by financial institutions and governments around the world. So we consider security at every level. This might be from the application code and the networks to the physical facilities. And along with the most up-to-date technologies, we will also adhere to the latest best practice policies for online security. This means that we would secure all the data and documents both in motion and at rest. So with over 7 billion mobile devices on the planet, cloud applications are gaining broad adoption and cyber threats are at an all-time high. This means that there's an increasing market demand for secure digital solutions that also provide great user experiences. New electronic signature regulations, such as the eIDAS, are putting a spotlight on the need for high assurance methods of authenticating the identity of people signing documents. To solve this problem, we at Adobe and other industry-leading organisations have formed the Cloud Signature Consortium. This is a cross-industry effort and includes members with deep expertise in developing open standards. We're a founding member of the consortium, along with 12 industry-leading solution, technology, and trust service providers. As a group, we've developed a new open standard for remote or cloud-based digital signatures that work on mobile devices and the web. quick snapshot into some of the customers that we are currently working with for Adobe
Sorry,
Sign.
Robin, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but I don't think that your slides are moving. It's still in the Adobe Sign complies with US and global e-signature laws slide. Sorry.
I'm about 5 slides ahead.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Right, I'll leave it on. To be fair, they've got 1 slide left. So what I'll do is I'll talk you through the slide I'm on at the moment, and we can always get this deck shared out. No, thank you for the heads up, because I'm completely oblivious. So
no
problem.
problem.
I'm looking at now then, we're looking at some of the customers that Adobe is working with for Adobe Sign. These include brands such as Jaguar Land Rover, Telefonica, Foursquare, Jobsite.co.uk, LeasePlan, KLM. And what this is going to show is that we can encompass a wide variety of industries at a wide variety of levels, whether you are a small startup and an individual business, all the way up to a multinational corporation. To give you some context, I got married last year, and my wedding venue, very local in Reading, where I am, they got us to commit to the venue through Adobe Sign. It's a standalone venue. They're using Adobe Sign all the way through to companies such as Jones Lang LaSalle. So it really gives you an idea of the scale of how this can be applied. So with that, just in case you're not seeing the slides anymore, thank you ever so much for your time. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Rojan now, who will provide a demo. Hopefully his slides will work. And everyone always wants to see the demo more than listen to me talk anyway. So Rojan, handing over to you.
Thank you, Robin. So I should be sharing my screen now, so just let me know if it stops or something like that. Quick introduction as well. My name is Rojan Mundir. I work as an Adobe specialist with focus on Document Cloud. I'm based in Stockholm, Sweden, but I work with the entire European region. Today I will give you a quick tour of Adobe Sign. I will show you how it looks when you send a document for signing, both from the sender's view but also from the recipient's view. I will also give you a quick tour of the workflow designer, and also a brief look at the SharePoint integration that we have. All right, so let's get started. You should be seeing my screen now, and you should be seeing the Adobe Sign dashboard. This is a web-based dashboard, so you can connect to it from basically anywhere. You just need an internet connection and a browser. And what I will show later in the demo also is that you don't need really to access the dashboard either. You can use all of the functionality directly in one of your systems that we have integrations with. All right, so let's start with a document that we send for signing. So first of all, you see here in the dashboard that I have the option here to start sending a document for signature, but I also can choose the send function up here. We also have the option here to create and publish a web form, and we can also send a document in bulk with the mega sign feature, where you basically upload a CSV file and then send to multiple recipients. You can also create templates, which you can then reuse. All right, so for now I will use the send tab here, press send. It will take me to the next step, and from here I can start adding my recipients. So maybe if in this case I want myself to sign it first, and then I want the recipient to receive it. And here I have the option to change the order if I want, and we can also, of course, uncheck the box, so it doesn't need to be necessarily completed in a specific order. In the left side here, we can choose which type of person it is that we're sending it to. It's a signer, approver, acceptor, certified recipient, or a form filler, also delegator. And we can also choose which type of authentication method we want to use. The basic one or the default one is email, but we can also use additional password, we can use social media, phone authentication, or we can choose also that the recipient needs to have an Adobe Sign license. Of course, for the other options, the recipient don't need to have an Adobe Sign product. They only need some kind of device and a connection to internet. Oops. More options we have here is that we can set a password protection for the document. We can also set a compilation deadline. So if the document is not signed before a specific date, the document will be recalled. Basically, you can also set reminders here to be sent from every day to every week or every business day, any other day, third day or fifth day. You can also choose which type of recipient's language it will be, so that the recipient will see that in that specific language. By default, it will of course be English. Here we can also add a message. The default one here is just please review and complete this document, but we have the option here to change it. There's also a lot of options for customization regarding the design. So the default one, as you will see soon, is the Adobe Sign logo and Adobe logo, but of course this can be changed to your own organization's logo. So there's, as I said, a design customization option there as well. When I've added my recipients, I add the file that I want to have signed. I could either press the add file up here and choose the document from my computer or one of the cloud storage solutions that I have. Of course, Adobe Sign comes with storage via Document Cloud, but there is of course options to add alternative storage areas as well. So I could use Google Dropbox or SharePoint or something like that. And if I don't want to use that button, I can just simply drag and drop. So I have a document here that I simply drag and drop into the file section here. And then we go to the next step. And it will take me to the step where I can start adding the different types of fields. So we have an auto detect function here, thanks to Sensei, which Robin mentioned earlier, which is integrated in Adobe Sign as well. So I could, if I want to, just simply click here and it will auto detect. Most of the time it will work pretty good, and you see it has detected which areas it thinks that we want to have different fields. But for the sake of the demo, let's do it manually. And here on the right side, I choose who's going to be the first signer. In this case, I added that I want myself to be the first signer, and maybe it is enough with just the initials. And I simply just drop the initial field somewhere where I like. And as you see here, I have the options for adding a signature field. I could add signature block, I could add stamps. But we can also add other stuff like title, company names, email, date, and we also have data fields. So you could, for example, have a text input. And of course, there is options here as well to add everything from tooltips to, for more advanced users, you could set some different conditions with if this, do that. And you can also, of course, change the appearance of it and also put in, if you want to assign it to a specific person, now I'm looking at myself, but I can of course change it so it's the recipient that is the assigned one, or anyone if I want. And in the same manner, we could add, for example, an image box. Say we want the recipient to add the passport picture or something, we could just simply have a label, passport, and also add a tooltip. Please upload your passport picture, like this. And same thing here, we could add the conditions and so on. I'm not going to do it for the demo today, so just going to remove this. I've added my initials here, and then I want the recipient to add their signature. And you see it auto detected. Okay, there's by size and everything here. And then we want maybe to have a printed name, so we'll add that as well. And date. When we feel we're ready, we can simply just gonna accompany as well. Simply press the sign and send. I could also, of course, we don't want to redo this, so I could create a template out of this, and then we could reuse this template. So I don't need to do all the steps all the time. We could also make this template available for the entire organization or a specific group within the organization. So for example, HR could have pre-created templates that they can use. Let's just press sign and send. We don't need to care about that. And now it should process it. And because I added myself as the first signer, it's going to ask me to do the first steps here. So I have a pre-done signature here. Press initial, and I'm done basically. And now it's going to be sent out to the recipient. I get a confirmation that the document has been signed by me and it's now been sent out to the recipient. I can at this stage, of course, follow the document to see what's going on. So in the Manage tab up here, I have the status of the different documents, and also the completed or canceled or expired or drafts that I've created before. And you see in progress now, we have a document, the one I just sent out. If we select it, we will see the different steps. If we press the activity list here, we can see that it's been sent out by me, and it's still waiting to be signed by the recipient, which is also me in this case. And what we would see here is, as well, is if me, the recipient, had opened the document, we would see that I had opened the document but not signed it. So this is a way for us to just keep track and follow the flow of the document. So for example, if I see that the recipient has opened the document but not signed it, maybe it's time to send a reminder to them. Just press the reminder button here and a reminder will be sent. So if we take a look how it looks for the recipient here, I have received an email to my private email. This is a email account I set up for this demo, and I don't have a Adobe Sign license or program or anything. I don't need it. I just need to have internet connection on a browser. And you see here I've received an email with the standard template now, with just please review and complete, but we could change this, of course, to have it with whatever message we want. And also, as I said earlier, we can change all of the logos here, so it has a different look, and it looks like it's your organization that has created this, basically. Very simple to use now. It has a big review and sign button here, so pretty self-explanatory what I need to do. Press the button. It will open up an instance of Adobe Sign. Again, I see the message here. Now, if I want to, I could either just press on the different fields, or I could press the start button. So for example, if we have a lot of multiple different fields we want to fill out, we press the start button and it will take me step by step to all of this. So let's press start. It says, okay, enter company name. Let's do that. Press the next one. Click to sign, okay. And now you see here I have different types of options for the signing. I could either type it in, or I could draw it. It's kind of hard to draw with a mouse. So if I want to, I could upload an image, or another option we have here is to send it by text. So for example, let's see if actually we can do this now. I'm gonna add myself here. And what happens now is I should receive a text message. Yes, you don't see my phone here, but I just received a text message with a link, and using this link takes me to a page in the browser where I can sign using my finger here. And when I'm done, I just press, oh, sorry, I didn't draw it. And it should, yeah, wasn't more beautiful because I did it with my hand, but you get the point. So I did it on my phone and it was automatically uploaded here as well. But as you see, I don't write so well, so let's just do it like this instead. Press apply. And now I'm ready to sign the document. I have followed all the steps that was asked for me, and I just simply press click to sign, and it's done. I can now download a copy of the document if I want. And I should have all of the signatures here. You see that the first signer or the sender added the signature up here. I have a timestamp, and also my signature down here and the initial down there. You see also here a blue ribbon. This is the certification seal. So this is like a guarantee that this document is secured and has not been tampered with. If I do anything, if I try to edit this document now and do any changes, the seal will be broken and we will know that something has been edited in this document. So if we go back, let's close this one, go back to my dashboard. If I update this now, it should be under completed. Yes. So if I press here as well, I can again see the activity, which hasn't been updated for some reason. But if I do download an audit report here, it should have all of the steps. So let's see if it works. I get a report, an audit report basically, which shows all of the steps that have been taken. So first it was sent by me. It has a timestamp, it has an IP address, and then you can follow it. So it's been sent to the recipient, it's been opened and viewed, and then also signed by the recipient. And all of these steps have a timestamp and an IP address, so there is traceability here. And same thing here, we have a certificate ribbon here. So if anything is changed or edited to this audit report, we will know because the seal has been broken. All right. So, and of course, what I didn't show you now is that I did receive the confirmation on my inbox as well. So I don't need to be necessarily in the dashboard here to see what's going on. I get updates via email as well. I can see that it's been, first of all, it's been sent for signing to the recipient, and also that it's been signed. And also from here, I could view the document and later download it as well. And it's been attached here actually in the email, so you see the file with the audit report as well. So you really don't need to use the dashboard at this point. You can follow all of the steps by your email. So before we leave the dashboard, just want to show you within the home page, within the send page, within the manage page. I'm not going to show you the mega sign feature, but basically it looks similar to what we just did, but we can add a CSV file and add multiple recipients. What I want to show you quickly before we leave here is the workflow designer. So for the admins also, there's a lot of customization abilities here. You can set up Adobe Sign to your preferences or organization's preferences. You can also create different types of groups. So you can set specific settings for specific groups. For example, I've created a HR group here, so we can set specific settings for that specific group. And if we go here to the workflow designer, you see I've created a test workflow here, and this is very simple to use. So you don't need to be a technician or a developer to understand what to do, but it helps you and takes you step by step to what kind of workflow you want to create. So in the first step here in the workflow info, we can set the name of the workflow, we can set some instructions here for the sender, and we can also attach this to a specific groups. For example, we want this workflow only to be available for HR. In the next step, you have the agreement info. You can add the agreement name. You can also change the recipient language. You can set all of the options that we saw before with passwords to protect the document or set compilation deadlines and so on. You can also add people to copy so that they necessarily don't need to be signing the document, but that will be following the workflow basically. And here in the workflow designer part, it is very easy to use. You simply add by drag and dropping or just pressing the plus button here what you want to happen. So for this case, I've added a recipient that starts signing it. After it has been signed by that first recipient, it will go to a second recipient and a second signer. And both of these have signed document, it will go to an approver. And if we remove this, I can show you how easy it is to create this kind of workflow. So we want, of course, has to start somewhere. So we want to start with the recipient. We can add the recipient here if we want. So we can have this in the workflow, or we can have it so we can add it later if we want to use this workflow for different people. We can choose which type of role it will be, if it will be designer, approver, acceptor, and so on. So for example, we maybe want to have an approver first. We can use which type of identity authentication we want to use here. And then we can add another one. So we want after the first approver has checked the document, we want it to go to a signer. And we can add signer. We can add email here, and can also make so the recipient is the sender. And again, we have the options here to add different types of identity authentication methods. And like this, we could simply create a workflow and automate our process for signing. Super easy to use. Just press the plus button and start adding different types of people you want to add. And more options we have here is to set the different settings for emails. You can also add different documents to this workflow, and we could add sender input fields. All right, so I see time flies, so let's jump over to the integration part. So as Robin mentioned, we have a partnership with Microsoft, and we are the preferred sign solution when we're working with Microsoft products. And here I created a SharePoint environment for this demo. You see I have a lot of different documents, and I could now, if I want to, start using Adobe Sign directly from here. So I don't need to use the dashboard at all. For example, you have an Adobe Sign button up here, which allows me to do all of those things we saw in the dashboard. So I could send a document for signing, I could check the status of agreements, I could access my library template, and I could manage different agreements that we have. And also if I, for example, select a document, we'll have the same options here for that specific document. Same integrations, just shout out to Acrobat. You have with Acrobat as well. So you see here I have a Document Cloud button, and I could do some of the things directly from SharePoint. So for example, if I choose two documents here, it will ask me if I want to combine these files using Acrobat. But if we open a Word document here, you'll see I'm in online version of Word. And as soon as it's loaded, we should have an Adobe Sign button up here as well. Yep, so you see I have the fill and sign and send for signature, and I can also check the agreement status. So let's send this for signing. You can see it looks and feels the same way as it would do in the Adobe Sign dashboard. I could start adding my recipients here, but I maybe want to do more than that. I want to use the more option button. And now it will basically open an instance of that function from Adobe Sign directly in the browser. So again, I don't need to go into Adobe Sign or something. It opens this function up here directly. Now I could start adding in the same manner different recipients. I could complete them in an order. You see I have the option here for password protection. I could set completion deadlines. I could set reminders here that are sent. I can also use which type of signature type I want to use. And when we press the next here, I'm just going to add a document. It will take me to the same section as we were before with the different fields we can add. You will see that it looks similar. Yep, you see here, use the auto detect button if I want. I could also start drag and dropping different types of fields. Also in SharePoint, what you can do is you can reroute documents. So for example, we want a document after sign, we can reroute it so it comes to automatically adds to a folder here that is signed agreements. And these kind of integrations are of course built into not only SharePoint, but also the different types of Microsoft applications, so such as desktop applications. So if I open a document here, I should have the same options from here. So send for signature. I can also check the agreement status, but I'm going to do that now. So I've been logged out. Sorry for that, just a sec. Need to log in again. Always the issue when you using multiple accounts here. So I've been logged in now, and if I want to, I can press the more option here, and it will open an instance of Adobe Sign directly in Word. I don't need to go into the browser. I don't need to log into the dashboard. I can do all of these things directly from here. Same type of integrations built into Outlook and Teams. Teams looks very similar to the SharePoint integration, with the addition that we also have a chat bot there. So you have basically a bot there you could give commands to. So I could check specific agreement status with specific agreements, or I could send documents for signing via that bot instead. I'm not going to show that today because my Teams is connected to my work Teams, so I might have sensitive information there, but you get the idea. It's going to feel the same way as it would do in SharePoint, with the additional option of having the chatbot, but also with the option of creating different teams, such as we did in the dashboard, for example, for one specific group of the organization, such as HR or something like that. All right, time flies when you have fun. So with that, I'm going to say thank you. And I think we have some room here, 10 minutes for some questions.
Thank you, Rojan, and thank you, Robin. Just wanted to say as well, I think that technical issue may have just been my side. So apologies if anyone did experience any issues, and I'm really sorry for interrupting, Robin. That was really rude of me. So we've had some questions coming in. Obviously, do feel free to submit some more if you think of any. So I'm just going to get going now. So what happens to the history if we decide not to continue with the licenses anymore? Can we still access to see previous signatures?
Do you want me to take that, Robin? So to answer your question,
Sorry, yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong here, Robin, but I mean, if you discontinue the product, you will have a grace period where you still have access to your documents via Document Cloud. But of course, if you have set it up so your documents are stored in an alternative storage or locally, of course, you will have these documents still there. But if you're using our cloud and you stop using the product, you will have until your anniversary date plus a grace period to back up the files, basically. Yeah. You will get notifications, of course, before we delete anything, so you have the chance to back it up.
Perfect, thank you. And how can you ensure that the signatory is the intended individual and no one is signing on their behalf?
Sure. So, I mean, you can look at this in a variety of ways. For starters, if you're faxing a document to a company or emailing a document to a company as it stands with a paper-based process, how can you guarantee that it's the right person actually signing it and sending it back? How do you know it's not the PA to the CEO who's actually signing it and returning it? I mean, based on the eSign Act, the email that we require in order, so as you saw in the demo, you enter the email address as the recipient. That's the first factor authentication. And under the eSign Act, that is completely valid. As Rojan then demonstrated further, you can add second factor authentications, whether that's through a phone number, which will generate a verification code as demonstrated. Now, naturally, you would assume that that phone is in the possession of the intended recipient. It could be that it's through a password or a photo. There are a variety of second factor authentications available if you require that extra level.
Brilliant, thank you, Robin. And do we need Acrobat Pro DC license to use Sign, or is it available? Sorry, let me just go over that.
So I think I know the question.
Sorry.
You don't need Acrobat DC for Adobe Sign. Of course, this is two products that play well together. So if you want to make the most out of it, then of course Acrobat DC is a good product to have, but it's not a necessity. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you.
And as Robin said, we have pre-built integrations with a lot of solutions. So there are, of course, alternatives there if you want to use another program or another type of system. It's not a problem.
Perfect, thank you very much. And we've had another question. We are currently a DocuSign customer, obviously similar features, but what does Adobe Sign do better?
Okay, good question. Go ahead, Robin.
Yeah, it really depends on, I suppose, the setup, what you're used to, what you're willing to kind of explore. I mean, they're similar products. We work very well with Microsoft, as we mentioned. So name a company who doesn't use Microsoft these days. We have the pre-built integrations with that. We are the preferred vendor, unlike some of the other solutions out there. We don't package anything separately. The price that is presented is the final price, whether you require support, tutorials, that's all included, the implementation. So with some of our out-of-the-box integrations, we can help set that up. We have a variety of onboarding plans that are included as well, depending on kind of the level of customer that you are. We can provide all of that support. So there are obviously other factors we could go into, and perhaps we could look at taking that as a separate session. Adobe's been around for years and years. We are a very well-established business, and we are continuing the investment in all different levels. So we can take it as you kind of want to see it. But I would say the biggest reason that we see customers moving to Adobe Sign is our relationship with vendors such as Microsoft when it comes to the integrations.
Brilliant, thank you, Robin. Also, I have another question here. We're looking to use Sign with SharePoint. What browser is that compatible with, and is it accessible from mobile?
So yes, it is working fine with mobile, and we do support all of the big browsers that are out there. I'm gonna pull out the list, but I mean Internet Explorer, Firefox, Edge, Chrome, Safari. We do support the top 10 biggest browsers that are out there. But what I'll do is I'll find a list. We have a list with all of the compatibilities there, and I'll send it here in the chat.
Brilliant, thank you. Do you have to pay for any extra cloud storage for external user access?
So for external user access, I'm not sure, but Robin, do you know if there's an option to buy more storage? I know that I think we're increasing the storage to, I think, 2 terabyte, if I'm not mistaken. So you get access to a lot of storage. I'm not sure if we can add more.
Yeah, I think it's something we can definitely take offline. If you, whoever's question that is, if you'd like to reach out to Bytes directly after this, we can definitely get some confirmation on that in terms of what's available as it stands. As Rojan said, we do have very high storage capabilities, and when it comes to documents, they tend not to take up as much as, let's say, video files from Photoshop. So we can definitely look into that further.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So I've actually got the email address of the person, so we'll get back to you on that. So how does it prevent a GDPR data leak? Presumably around access controls?
I'm not 100% sure regarding the specific question around access controls, but we do comply with GDPR rules, and we have a lot of documentation, a lot of information regarding these kind of topics in our trust center, which I will also link here in the chat.
Yeah, so if you go onto the Adobe Trust Center through our website, it will provide you a breakdown, because I think that question could be twofold, whether you're talking about the data centers itself or through the software. So I think we can definitely expand on that.
Yeah, all our data centers are located within EMEA. Our primary site is hosted by AWS in Frankfurt, and our backup site is in Dublin.
Brilliant, thank you. And can this product be branded?
Yes, it
Absolutely.
can. And it's very easy to do. So with all of the things we've added in Adobe Sign, it's meant to be a normal user should be able to do it. It don't necessarily need to be a developer or a technician. Not
at all. So it's still drag and drop context. We've got guidelines that will help walk you through the process. If it was a business critical feature that was required, then during an onboarding session we can obviously help support that, but every document can be automatically branded, so you don't need to rebrand it every single time.
Brilliant, thank you. So we get lots of good questions coming in. So I've got another one here. What does Adobe Sign do over and above Acrobat Pro DC?
So these are two different products. Adobe Sign is primarily a product for electronic and digital signing. Of course, there's also the tool there to create and publish web forms. But Acrobat DC is more of a PDF document management tool. You have tons of different options and tons of different tools for managing and creating documents, basically. While Adobe Sign is for electronic and digital signature.
And then just to sort of add on to that, many customers might be using Acrobat DC with the fill and sign feature, which obviously does allow electronic signatures through that. The differences with Adobe Sign as a standalone is that the license that's incorporated into Acrobat is an individual sign license. So there are much more restrictions in terms of how many pages can be included in one document. The number of transactions has a maximum that we cannot increase. With an Adobe Sign standalone, there's a much more adaptable dashboard. You will be able to store them and view them. You can group different departments together, and it's unlimited in terms of transaction limits. So the core feature as well is vastly different.
Brilliant, thank you so much, guys. So we've obviously had quite a lot of questions today, but if your question was not answered, we will take that offline for you because we're kind of running out of time here. So thank you so much for speaking today, and thank you to Rosie as well. Thank you all for joining, and I really hope you found it valuable. As I mentioned earlier, if you wouldn't mind just filling out that survey at the end, that would be amazing. And yeah, if you have any further questions, just email them through to us. So thank you everyone, and have a lovely day.